Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, the coalition of civil society organizations for local government reforms in Ghana is calling on the Akufo-Addo government to abandon the idea of superintending the election of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives on partisan lines. The group, which has renewed the push for the election of MMDCs, argued that the current administrative structure at the local assembly is fraught with significant challenges, which is impacting negatively on the developmental growth at the local level, insisting the election of the CEOs for the assembly would largely address the challenges. President Akufo-Addo in 2019 truncated the process for the election of local authorities, citing lack of consensus. But a member of the CSO coalition, Kofi Bento, addressing the media, observed that government must first prioritize the election of MMDCs before introducing their election on partisan lines.
All right, so let us get this clear. There is overwhelming support for this. At the point where we were going to effect those things, the current government introduced a second phase. That phase is not necessary for the local government reforms. It is additional. And that second phase is to have it done on a partisan basis. So let me explain. We can today ask our parliamentarians to amend the constitution and we will elect DCEs from tomorrow. That is what the overwhelming number of Ghanaians want. Both NDC and MPP want. We have not heard any dissent to that, and that can be done. At a point where we're going to do it, a tertiary level, a different phase, another, ultimate goal was added to it, which is to say, let's do it on a partisan basis. Why I'm stressing this point is this. It is not necessary to have partisan elections for us to have local government elections. So it is not exactly accurate to say there was a breakdown in consensus. The breakdown was that it was not necessary. Let us not complicate it. Now, sometimes we elevate a footnote and make it the keynote. That small footnote of whether to make it partisan or not, became the keynote. And on that basis, the whole thing was scuttled. We are back here today to emphasize the substantive point, which we all agree on. And that is that we must have local government reforms to the effect of electing local government officials, DCEs, MCEs, and the like. And that much as we will desire, or some of us will desire, that it be done on a partisan basis, we think that we should first have the elections done, have people into office chosen by the people, and then later on, if we want to, we can add the icing on the cake, which is to make it partisan or not.
Meanwhile, the coalition has today begun a nationwide consultation with stakeholders to rally support for the election as part of moves to pile pressure on President Akufo-Addo to reinitiate the processes for the election. Dr. Kojo Asante of CDD has been speaking to my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
There are many issues, and the verdict on local government is really, really bad. It's not functional. So whatever we are going to do, there has to be complementary reforms. And I think that will probably help us better in deciding that we want non-partisan or partisan. I mean, so, as some of my colleagues have said, just the election alone is sufficient to make a change. At least even with this appointment process, we will get people that the citizens will feel that they put them there. And they know that they can always, in 4 years' time, they have to go and seek their mandate. So already it established an accountability relationship like with MPs. And we know that that works. But it is not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to have local development or local democracy. So that's why we are saying, yes, election is important, but it's not sufficient. And let's see how we can add to it.
In all of this, the president is very central and very key in this matter. Have you officially petitioned him? Have you spoken to him about the new process?
No, I think the process as we understand it is that if the consensus is going to build, it's not just political actors having a consensus. So it's not even just MPP and NDC having a consensus. It's what even chiefs, what they think, what is their role, how are they going to, because if they feel threatened that this process is not going to marginalize them or exclude them from local development, then they might not even support it. What about local assembly members? What about the political parties at local government level? So this is the kind of work that we government would have done. But we see that, okay, there are some divergent views, at least on the party side. If civil society can come together and take up this responsibility and bring these actors and parties together, when we have the collective voice and we present it to government, it should persuade and be persuasive for us to move forward. So that is the job that we want to be doing from the next 3 weeks, and we'll go into the next year as well. And we are working with the ministry, to also let them know what citizens are thinking, what different groups are thinking, so that if they have to submit a memo to Parliament, to Cabinet, for a roadmap, that at least they will be informed by what is on the ground.
Well, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante joins us on the line. He's the Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the CDD. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time here on The Pulse. With the local government minister, Dan Botre, in the wake of the election of MMDC, did say that the Akufo-Addo administration was going to build on what is started during the first administration, and that a process was already underway to reinitiate this. Does this renewed calls from CSO suggest you are not in the know or not involved in this process?
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers, to your listeners. No, I mean, we've been working closely with the ministry. We have met the ministry, I believe, twice to engage on this matter. The minister has given assurance that this is a priority of government. It's something that is part of the ministry's priorities for the coming years. So basically, for us, this effort is really to help the ministry, take an informed position, because basically what has to happen, the ministry has to submit a plan to Cabinet for approval, a roadmap of some sort, how we get to that destination. So yes, no, I mean, we see the working with the ministry as key, because at the end, it's the executive that has the power to be able to help initiate these processes. And we want to make sure that we are all, on the same page in terms of what we need to do to be able to get a consensus. Because remember, when the president truncated the process, he expressed the frustration with a lack of consensus. And the charge was that, we have to find broad-based consensus. So for me, that, I think, is the marching orders for everybody, that at the end we need to be able to come together and agree on how we move forward. And I think that we have started this process because we believe that we need to push it. We can't wait, till, government gets there or other stakeholders get there. We need to kind of help push people to get this agenda completed.
Doesn't it appear to you or come across to you that government has already a position on this matter? You say that this process is to help government take a position, but the president was quite clear. First of all, there's common ground, which is the fact that MMDCs must be elected. But the president is very much convinced that this must be done on partisan lines. In fact, the minister reiterated the same point months ago. Is this not a done deal as far as government is concerned?
Well, I mean, first of all, as I said, it's the president's own charge that the consensus has to be built. So, yes, the executive or the current MPP ruling government, they have its position, and I think that position is known because in the manifesto, that is the position that has been expressed. The opposition NDC also has a position, and it's been expressed. Civil society, even in 2019, there were different positions. But at least we have come into this debate realizing that at the end, we have to be able to work together to get a common position. The survey that CDD did is clear that yes, elections are desired by a supermajority of citizens in this country. The preference for non-partisan election is also very, very strong. But what we also picked up was that even if you do elections today or tomorrow, the verdict on the dysfunctionality of the local government system cannot be ignored. We have to seriously think about what other things we have to do to make this work. And that's where a lot of the debate, because that even itself helps us in discussing whether or not we want to elect, via partisan means or non-partisan means. We know that you can, in terms of the amendments that you have to make, 2431 is easiest. You get to test majority. You can even, do that now and put it on the shelf whilst you wait for other things to happen. So that's for us, there is ways in which we can come to some common purpose. It's clear what citizens are saying about elections. And I think nobody can walk away from that. The key thing about partisan and non-partisan, as I said, comes back to what is going to deliver. Is it going to deliver? If, for example, the non-partisan election, together with the complementary reforms, would deliver development based on everybody's understanding and appreciation, then I don't have any problem. We should go ahead and do the election.
Okay.
Because doing nothing is not an option. So that's the key. And I think from whichever side you come from, you have to be able to prepare to listen to the arguments on both sides.
But Dr. Santi, one of the things, and you talk about this functionality at the local government level, one of the things that has really challenged the effective running is apathy, and that is quite clear. Now, the whole idea of the president and his ministers, and indeed this government, of running this on partisan lines is to whip up interest, get people to participate, a participation that will be encouraging enough to gather people to be concerned about issues affecting them within their locality. Is that not a viable, a very good response to cure that issue?
Yes, and that is an argument that also has to be put to the people. I mean, in the consultations, we are meeting chiefs, we are meeting assembly members, we are meeting CBOs, opinion leaders in those places. We are meeting media. We are meeting all manner of actors on the ground to also put these things, because that pushback is important. Because what we keep saying is that it's not, even when you say non-partisan, you have to envisage, for example, how do you deal with monetization of the political process? Because you will come back to the same problem, whether partisan or non-partisan, if the process is about vote buying, if the process is about monetization. Then we are back to zero. So how are we going to even deploy a non-partisan election to make sure that the cost of actually participating is minimized? Should it was part of the process to bring the common platforms, to put a cap on expenditure. How are you going to do all of these things? These are some of the conversations we must have, because if we don't do that, whatever we will do, we might come back to this issue just a few years down the line, or even complicate the current situation that we are in. So we are open. I think people should make their debate strong, but for us, the key is that after we've gone through all of these things, and the people still desire non-partisan elections, I think that as leaders, with all the benefits, they justified all the benefits. You look at all the possibilities you can get. There's no reason why we shouldn't go forward with it. If we go around and people see the other argument for for partisan elections, for example, like grooming political parties at the local level rather than excluding them from the process, that you help them to build capacity to govern, and therefore they don't come to national level to come and experiment. That is also another argument somebody puts in place.
Very well. So and this has just started. Things
have to be engaged.
And Doc, just briefly before you go, are you working with timelines in this renewed campaign
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely windows that we have to take advantage of.
Okay.
Because the next 10 year, I think, ends 2023 or so. And so people have said, okay, do you add it to the 2024 election so that you basically elect everybody in one election? It might actually save cost. Some people say, well, the best way to place an election, a local government election, is midterm. So that you can use that to basically, incentivize any government in office to work harder when they are after an election rather than wait for the next election. So these are also design issues that we have to look at.
Dr. Pupunia Asante, thank you very much for joining us. That's the Director of Advocacy and Policy at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Let me take you now to Parliament. The minority there says it will not cooperate with government and will kick against the introduction of the new electronic transaction levy. Speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of a post-budget workshop at Hull in the Volta region, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu said government is being opportunistic and only seeking to exploit the COVID-19 pandemic, which contributed to a surge in digital transactions.
The government is seeking to introduce e-levy or e-transaction levy, call it a mobile phone tax or Momo tax. We stand united collectively against it, and we would not support government. We would not cooperate with government because that will further deepen the suffering of the Ghanaian people. The introduction of that tax handle is simply opportunistic. The number of mobile subscribers and the use of digital platform globally grew up to 68 billion in 2020, and for our purposes, the portfolio grew from 257 billion to 500 billion. Largely because of COVID. So you don't have a lazy, convenient way of taxing the consequence of COVID. So people decided to use digital platform because of COVID. We needed to do social distancing. Government is turning around to just take advantage of COVID to introduce what they call a Momo tax. Take, for instance, if you chose to pay a medical bill to a doctor by Momo, it means that it will be taxed. There is the danger of you being taxed 7-10 times a day, depending upon how much transfer or remittance you do in a day. So the incidence of double taxation is very grave and it's unavoidable. So it means that if you transacted 100 businesses 100 times in a day on an electronic platform, you will pay that tax 100 times. What it means is that you are reintroducing a functionally cash economy against the development of a digital economy.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, says government will find a way to win the cooperation of the minority on the matter. In an interview with JoyNews on the sidelines of the ongoing Volta fair, he said Ghana cannot continue to do things the same way.
So this historic 10 billion intervention that we have had and finding ways for burden sharing. So we recognize the problems of youth unemployment, the problem of roads, the problem of debt, and we as a nation decide to burden share to break this intractable problem. So it's very exciting seeing the support that he has garnered and seeing some of the entrepreneurs here who are here. And it gives me hope that where we are going with the e-levy is the right way to do that.
It's interesting that you mentioned the e-levy. There are already concerns out there that
there
the
e-levy
amounts to double taxation and inimical to entrepreneurship that
well,
we
if you look at your 2.2 million youth in 1960 to 10.8 million youth, it cannot be that we do things as we do them always. And I think we all need to stretch our minds as to what we want to curtail. The indignity of not having a job, I think, should really manage how the world economy is moving into more of an e-line economy. The old tax handles might not be different. And as you bring these things on, you tweak them with time. But the clarity of understanding that we cannot continue to have this youth problem. We cannot continue to not have our roads built. We cannot continue to not look at our debt. I think it's in front of us. And usually a change, brings these things. But I think the change should be, how do we make this efficient and move forward? But in terms of everybody not liking taxes, always will be that. So we have, maybe a month of discussions of Parliament. But once the objective is clear, we'll get to some efficiency. And I really want the youth to go behind us to say that, let's talk for jobs.
You talked about discussions with Parliament. I've been speaking to the minority leader, and he describes it as opportunistic and defeatist, and says that the minority is not going to cooperate with when it comes to this particular e-levy. I don't know what your response is to this.
Well, I mean, Biden went through his 1.3 trillion. There were discussions, but in the end, where does Ghana, the Republic, want to go? And so we'll discuss. But as long as we are clear on eliminating this unemployment benefit, I think we'll find a way to cooperate and build the nation and move forward. So it's not an unfamiliar position with opposition, but I'm sure we all have the good sense of one language, the Republic in hand, and we'll get there as one people.
Well, the finance minister has the support of his wife, Professor Angela Foriata, the clinical psychologist with the University of Ghana Medical School, however, wants Ghanaians to hold government accountable for the usage of the resources entrusted to them.
Oh, I am so impressed. Of course, for me, the tie-dye excites me, the tie-dye clothes and the cloth. But then I'm really impressed with, the commercial farming, Kumfi fruit and juice factories, there's a paint factory place, then there's education, a School of Allied Health Sciences, and just the tech bit of it excites me.
Your husband, the finance minister, was in Parliament, and he announced the electronic transaction tax.
Yes.
A lot of Ghanaians are saying that it amounts to double taxation. Many are not really in support of it. As the wife of the finance minister, what do you make of that?
I have to pay 1/3 or more of my salary as taxes every month.
Okay.
And I know that there are many people who are not paying taxes. And I know that they would like better roads. They would like, when they go to hospital, to get better care. They would like their NHIA to work so that they can present their cards and get medication. I know that they would like a good Ghana. There's no country that can develop without its citizens contributing. And there are too many people in Ghana not contributing. And this tax, if we all pay a little, we send money, I think when we send money to each other to pay for services that is taxed, pretty soon we will figure a way not to pay income tax.
Okay.
Pretty soon, because that's the way the world is going, we get taxed for the things that we use, and if it's not a tax that completely wipes you out, or if it is a tax that allows us to have a better life, or in this case, if it is a tax that allows us to create jobs for young people, then I think it's worth it.
Okay.
So I think we should really be talking about how do we ensure that when the taxes get collected, they get into government chest, number one. Number two, let's press government to use it efficiently and judiciously.
Okay.
And let's hold government accountable for the jobs and for the programs that it says it will create. I think that is a far better way to go about it. And let the young people get ready to use their talents and be excited that it is their vision and not because they know somebody. And I think that's what this is about, the youth start. I think the self-reliance of Volta and the independence to say, look what we have, come and see it. I think that's what the other regions can learn from it. Let's showcase our region. Let's say that let's say that we're a vibrant, region, and we can do things. I think that's what excites me about it.
And we stay on the budget because Pressure Group Economic Fighters League has hinted at plans to hit the streets of Accra in protest against the newly proposed taxes in the 2022 budget. The group says the e-levy tax, among others, burdens the ordinary Ghanaian. They are therefore calling on parliamentarians to reject the proposal and have asked government to focus on increasing production in the country. National spokesperson for the Economic Fighters League, Ni Ayi Opari, joins us via Zoom. Mr. Opari, thank you for joining us on the Pulse. You have been out there as part of the Fix the Country campaign, indeed calling on government to fix various sectors of the economy. Now they are raising taxes to do what what ought to be done and what you want government to do. Why the hue and cry?
Yes, so good afternoon to your viewers out there, and to yourself, of course, and also the youth of Ghana. We are not against taxes. That is not the case, of course. Much needed taxes and revenue are what's going to be used in development and funding development projects. So we are not against taxes, but we are saying this is coming at a time when Ghanaians are already dealing with the impact of COVID-19, and it will be quite insensitive to slap on extra taxes on Ghanaians at this time. And we are saying it's actually a very lazy approach. And to borrow the words of the current vice president, he had said that taxation does not necessarily improve growth. He has said taxation actually stifles growth. And when there's no growth, it actually prevents the generation of revenue. And if there's no revenue, you'll be forced to tax some more. And he says when you keep taxing, you're going to be engaged in a cyclical downward spiral. These are the very words he used in 2016. And so you realize it's not just the taxes we are kicking against, but we're saying this is coming at a time when Ghanaians are dealing with too much. We've already seen from the beginning of this year, fuel prices have already been increased by 16 times. And this is already a burden that Ghanaians have not gotten, or have not really adjusted to. So to slap on an extra tax with mobile money, where they would have to be moving or transacting business with the little monies they earn, that is quite insensitive. And the excuse for bringing on these new taxes is that they need to raise revenue for certain projects and all that. That's all well and good, but we're saying the finance minister said they are looking to raise some 6.9 billion Ghana cedis, and that's just about $1 billion US dollars. But the Auditor General's report for 2020 states that about 12 billion Ghana cedis are lost through corruption. And I really don't like using the word corruption because it masks the gravity of the issues you're dealing with. I like to use the word stealing. So 12 billion Ghana cedis have been stolen from the public coffers. And if you're looking to raise 6.9 billion Ghana cedis, and you have your Auditor General showing that 12 billion Ghana cedis have been stolen, I mean, it will make more economic sense if you try to even recuperate about half of that. Even if it's a third, that's substantial. So you see, you can release or relieve Ghanaians of this burden by collecting just the monies that have been lost to theft.
So for you, blocking the loopholes or plugging them is very important for you. But whilst we wait on government and we urge government to do that, what will be the way to raise revenue in order to do the things that we need to? We seem to be having some connection problems with... Yes, we lost you briefly. If you could just recap the point you were making.
Yeah. Yes, I'm saying he has said his administration was going to focus on production rather than taxation. So we're actually looking at innovative ways along those lines to increase internally generated revenue rather than just using the very lazy technique of just slapping taxes on everything. As it stands, Ghanaians are overburdened with tax, so much so that females would have to pay tax on sanitary towels. And that is the most inhumane tax I've ever come across. I mean, it's not a privilege to be a woman and to have your monthly woman thing to do. So how then do you even slap taxes on something as very important as sanitary towels? I mean, this is absurd.
We're having a challenge with your line there, Mr. Parry, but if you could just fix that and respond to this very final question, which is you're asking members of parliament to reject the e-levy. The minority has indicated that it will kick against it, but you need about 2/3 of the House to kick against this proposal. You think that going on protest would get you that result?
Rightfully so. All power resides in the people, right? Given the mandates to be in parliament. So if they're not able to kick against this bill, as all Ghanaians have actually come out to say that we are rejecting this budget, especially the e-levy. If our elected representatives, those we've given the mandates, cannot speak what we are saying or speak our wishes to be heard on the floor of parliament, then we the people will make sure our voices are heard. And if they should make the mistake of going ahead to pass such a bill, which we have, or a budget that we have kicked against, then it looks like we have to go back to what the law says about who is really sovereign and who can make the final determination concerning public issues and policies.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Parry. He is with the Economic Fighters League. He speaks for them, and he's been speaking on their rejection of the e-levy tax. Many of you as well has been talking about it. Go on to our social media platforms. There have been various suggestions to reduce it, to reject it. What are you for? But right now, I want to take you to the Volta region. Uprooted 3 times already, and now stuck between Imarudin Sea and Ilagun. That's the story of the villages of Akokeji. The community is one of the worst affected in the tidal waves disaster that displaced more than 3,000 people in the Keta area 2 weeks ago. The community of over 500 people is now a ghost town, as many have fled to perch with friends and family elsewhere. My colleague Justice Bedu went to meet some of the last residents of Agokeji, forced by the sea erosion to say goodbye to the land of their birth.
This is Yawo Agbemava's last day in the home she has lived for 45 years. In her lifetime, she has seen sea waves sweep through her village many times. But what she saw 2 weeks ago was different.
When I hear the sea waves, my heart beats faster. I become very afraid. I've not seen anything like this before. The sea used to be far away. Now it's with us.
Like Yao, nearly everyone from Agokeji, her village, has left. What remains? Broken water pots, torn apart roofing sheets, and belongings that villagers left behind as they ran for their lives when the sea waves forced their doors open in the dead of the night.
If the sea is rougher, we just wake up and stay and sit down and be waiting for the day to come. Because if you sleep, you don't know that the water will come to the room.
With the climate change, you can see it's really affecting our community.
This is Fuvame. Some of the people who are just moving away from Agokeji now used to live here. After years of sea erosion, everyone has left.
It was a big community, very big community. The people keep on moving backwards. Keep on moving backwards till the time they get close to the river. And there's no place for them to move, to step back anymore. So final decision was they have to move from this community to resettle at Agokeji.
Yao hopes she can come back to Agokeji one day.
I
want to come back one day because this is where I belong. My grandparents lived here.
A sea defense project that could help protect her community has stalled for years. Sea levels are rising by the day. It is uncertain where the next move will be to. Justice Baidu, JoyNews, Akokeji.
This is the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. Still to come, after this break, we'll take you live to Hull where the Volta fair is underway. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Now, the level of indiscipline in our schools is growing by the day, and it is pervasive. From breaking common school rules, students are now involved in the use of hard drugs, pushing down school fence walls, and engaged in fights using knives and machetes and vandalizing the properties of teachers. Are we in the dilemma of sparing the rod and spoiling the child? These are the concerns raised at the 59th annual conference of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS. President of the conference, Alhaji Yakub bin Abubakar, called for a solution to the issue of growing indiscipline in senior high schools. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
The 59th Annual Conference of the Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, was under the theme Discipline and Child Rights in Our Senior High Schools, the Fate of the School Head. In attendance were headmasters of various senior high schools across the country, representatives of various teacher and education unions, and other stakeholders in education. Various speakers who touched on the theme of the conference were of the view that perhaps the withdrawal of corporal punishment in senior high schools needs to be reconsidered.
Today, the GES has banned caning and all forms of corporal punishment in our schools. The question is, what have they replaced it with? Today, non-performing students cannot be repeated or withdrawn from the schools. Students with bad and questionable characters who should be withdrawn to allow those who want to study in our schools remain in our schools.
Delivering his address, the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Alhaj Yakub bin Abubakar, said the level of indiscipline in senior high schools was getting to the point where school heads feel that the prohibition of corporal punishment emboldens students to misbehave.
From breaking common school rules, students are now involved in use of hard drugs, pushing down school fence walls, and engage in physical fight with implements like knives and cutlasses, inflicting serious cuts on themselves. Vandalizing teachers' properties like cars and farms are common occurrences. CHAS is not against the policy of prohibition of corporal punishment, but we also feel that this prohibition has emboldened the students to misbehave. Are we in the dilemma of spare the rod and spoil the child?
He also touched on issues of lack of funds for senior high schools.
It is well over 4 years that the recurrent rates were fixed for the running of schools. CHAS have made several efforts by preparing comprehensive notes on the recurrent rates and asked for an upward adjustment of the rates with proposed figures. Yet we have not generally received attention from the Ghana Education Service Management. What is even serious is the delays in the release of funds for recurrent expenditure. This has made the plight of day schools very serious, as they do not have any source to run their schools.
Delivering the keynote address at the conference, the Vice Chancellor of the C.K. Tidal University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Professor Eric Magnus Wilmot, entreated the headmasters to find other ways of instilling discipline in students.
Establishing expectations, guidelines, and school or classroom rules for behavior in order to proactively prevent disruptions. So before the students embark on something that will disrupt the free flow of events in the school. Proactively, let's establish some expectations and guidelines for them.
Deputy Education Minister John Ntim Fojo, who attended the conference, addressed some of the concerns raised by Charles.
It is not acceptable that our heads of schools will have to go through stress in feeding any child in any school, considering all these investments that have been expended and continue to be expended. Therefore, we charge buffer stock, national food buffer stock, to ensure regular and sufficient supply of food at all times to all schools in this country. Every child must be fed adequately, and heads of schools would not have to stress themselves in ensuring that our children are fed.
For Joy News, Albert Sori, reporting from Bolgatanga.
Now, the Vice President of the Northeast Regional House of Chiefs and Paramount Chief of Janga, Naseidu Naktogma, has accused police in the West Mampris municipality of conniving with armed robbers and failing to fight crime. The chief alleged that criminals engaged in robbery and kidnapping were in collaboration with some security officers who would always intervene and ensure they evade prosecution whenever they are arrested. The chief is therefore calling on the Inspector General of Police to advise his officers, else they will cut ties with them, and any suspect arrested thereafter shall be executed without the involvement of the police. He spoke to correspondent Ilyasu Tanko.
Activities of highway robbers and residential thieves have been a long-standing security challenge in the West Mampris municipality of the Northeast region. The high crime rate in the municipality has led to many residents concerned about their safety and livelihoods. Until recently, the presence of special anti-robbery personnel as part of a national response to the situation has significantly reduced criminal activities in the area. However, due to lack of logistics and inadequate personnel, the robbers are said to be back in full force, especially in communities where the police are unable to conduct patrols due to bad roads and the lack of vehicles. Residents in these communities are therefore left with no option than to form militias and vigilantes and rely on traditional authorities for protection. The police therefore rely on these traditional authorities to be able to administer control in fighting crime in these communities. However, this fixed conventional security collaboration has been threatened in one of the communities where the chief there is accusing the police of colluding with the criminals.
There was a armed robbery overseas over there, and I learned they say the boy he ran and come and hid here. So I've let them arrest him. He's in the police hand right now.
So Nabat Nantokma Seidu, the paramount chief of Janga traditional area, stated his reasons for the allegations.
They kidnapped somebody here, and they were telling them to bring money to them. So the one that they were trying to kidnap, the father and the brothers came to me. They called the brother in presence of me, tell him that if they didn't bring 8,000 Ghana cedis, they'll kill the boy. I collect the phone from them and tell the armed robbers, we know those who told you to arrest the guy. When you kill that boy, who to kill those people that give you the way to come and arrest him. I let the prosecutor in Nalergo came directly to arrest him in my market here. They sent him, they released him. There is one boy called Yakubu. He collected the Alaji Judge brother motorbike. And the boy, I have seen him. He told them. Later, they were telling the boy to go and bring his evidence. How can a robber attack you in a bush and you have evidence there?
Paramount Chief spoke to Joy News in the heat of a misunderstanding with the police after he had refused to hand over 2 kidnapping suspects to them. The traditional area has no road and other basic amenities, including a police station, leaving the lives of the people constantly at risk. Sonaba said the conduct of the police could jeopardize their relationship with the state security agencies as well as the general security situation in the municipality.
If we arrest, we give them, they leave them. Next time when we get them, we'll kill them. We'll not give them police again. Because we'll kill them. Because they are evidence. And we are in Ghana. Then we come to my country and he will be strong because of police. He will be stronger than me, the person in my hometown. That one day is out. So we are telling IDP to advise his people. When they leave them and we arrest them again, we'll kill all of them. We will not give them to police again. And when we do that too, this shouldn't blame us. Because I have evidence with myself and my people in my community here.
He's therefore calling for the immediate intervention by the Inspector General of Police.
So they should advise the policemen to do their job very well. You can't depend money than human being. And you are spoiling the government name and you are spoiling with the paramount chief's name. We will not accept it. When we do something to above the law, they let us do it.
Ilyas Sutanko reporting.
Residents of Dalun in the Kumbungu district of the region have threatened to block the road leading to the Dalun water treatment plant if contractors working on the road do not return. They are also threatening to lock up the water treatment plant, serving the entire northern regional capital and several other districts. They said they cultivate the large portion of vegetables and mangoes in the region, but these produce are left to rot because vehicles hardly ply that route.
About 10-kilometer Dalong Road has been stalled for the past 7 years after it was awarded on contract in 2016. The youth are angry because the contractor has moved all his equipment out of the site. The resident who staged a demonstration this morning in Dalong walked the 10-kilometer road blocking vehicular traffic. Women, children, and the elderly who were part of the demonstration demanded that the contractor return to site within the next 2 weeks or face their wrath. Speaking to JoyNews, chairman of the Dalong Youth Association, Mahama Sofiano, said commercial activities in the area alone contributes about 60% of the assembly's generated funds.
The water treatment plant, that water completed, lives in that area. They produce water to service better part of the northern region communities. We deserve more and we deserve better than this. We cannot be neglected. The bad road, the bad nature of the road is impeding our development. We just need the government to come to our aid. The contract has been awarded. We want the contractor to be truthful to us, the government to be truthful to us, because on several occasions, the contractor has told us he has been giving money to construct the road, but nothing has been done. And then the ruling government has told us that they have given the contract road to construct the road, but we see nothing being done. So when the government and then the contractor to be truthful to us.
Another resident presented a young boy who he said was knocked down by a tipper truck who was avoiding a pothole.
And his leg got this way due to the bad nature of our road. Because the mother sent him to buy something at the station. So when a tipper truck was trying to dodge a pothole just at the middle of the road, then unfortunately the tipper truck runs onto this guy. I was just there when.
This is the Pulse with me, Ernest Minu. Let me take you now to Ho, where the Volta fair is underway. Maxwell Aduba is our man on the ground. Maxwell, tell us how the fair is going so far.
Offer during this period. Earlier in the day, we were at the Holt Sports Stadium where I interacted with some people, a lady actually, who is producing coffee. Yes, coffee from Leklebi in the Volta region. I also interacted with some students from the Holt Technical University who had an e-dustbin on display, and this dustbin actually works with a sensor. And today, right about now, we are away from the fairground. We are here in Amejope. I'm sure you've heard it being pronounced as Amejope, Amejope. That, I'm learning the correct pronunciation, is Amejope. And what you can see behind me is the Amejope Falls here. I have with me here the manager for the Amejope Ecotourism Center, Dr. Emmanuel Ame. He's going to tell us, in fact, just some minutes ago, we were at the highest habitable settlement place here in Ghana, which is Amejope. It is not Afajato, because Afajato people just go there to hike. Right. He tell me. And he said this place is some minutes ago. And right now, still in the same community, we have the Amejope Falls. Beautiful scenes up here. But it was not easy getting access to this place. It was so difficult.
My legs were falling out. We had to come with the ropes. You remember?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this waterfalls.
This waterfall is as a result of rainfall, and there are a lot of tributaries up there. About 3 tributaries add up to make this waterfall. And this waterfall at the base, sometimes we have a tourist coming over to take a swim, to cool off in the day.
In this water?
Yes.
Okay.
But right now, we don't have so much water. There's less rainfall these days. And all of this water goes downstream to form another waterfall in the Bajama community, which is also known as the Bajama Falls. So from the Amejope Falls, it goes down to form the Bajama Falls.
Okay.
And coming down...
How many steps? In fact, we were at the top, very top. And we did how many steps? Down 200 steps?
Yes, about 200 to 250 steps. And after the steps, there are ropes that we had to hold on to get all the way down to the base of the waterfall.
And that is a real adventure, because it is not smooth coming down here.
At all. It feels like guerrilla warfare.
Exactly.
And Ghana Army comes here to train most of the time to learn to do jungle warfare.
It was so easy. It wasn't easy coming down here.
That's correct.
But now I'm thinking about how we're going to climb to go up there.
To go up there, we're going to go the same way we came. And possibly it might get a bit easier because we've gotten to take some rest here. And by the time we get up there, the experience would be awesome.
Okay. I only heard of the Amejope Falls, and in fact the mountain, just some days before the Volta Fair. Can you tell us what the problem really was and what you are doing now to project and to push it and let the rest of the world know what we have here?
Yes, the problem was the inability to incorporate technology, let's say with websites. So now we've come up with the Amejope virtualtours.com, and there customers or tourists can get a feel of what it is to come here. So there are 360 views of the waterfall, and very soon we are coming on stream with a canopy walkway. It's going to be fantastic, just like the experience at Kakum, and we are hoping the experience is going to be more. And we are also looking to go big on marketing. And in marketing, we're going to harvest emails for corporations, universities, schools, make flyers and place brochures all across the country to market this place. I definitely know some people in Ghana have not yet heard of this place. But the experience, as you would have it, is awesome.
Wonderful experience, wonderful experience, coming here, especially when we went to the very top of Mount Gemi. And now, tell us, for those who want to come here, how do they get here? If I'm coming from Accra, for instance, how do I get here?
Okay, to get here from Accra, I believe very soon there's an airport facility, and they're going to be
so you can come to Ho,
coming at 100 Ghana cedis, flat rate. And from Ho, you take the bus or taxi. In about 30 minutes, you'll be atop Amejope. You'll be up here in Amejope in about 30 minutes from Ho.
Okay, great. So tell us, what is the meaning of Amejope? A lot of people pronounce it as Amejope, right? But I'm an Ewe.
Right.
You pronounce it as Amejope, and you told me the meaning of this place, the meaning of the name Amejope. You want to explain that to our audience right now?
Yes. Amejope means the origin of humans. Ameope Jope. That is the origin of humans, where humans come from. And then another meaning is Amu, Pejopa, there is the Amu River in this area, and this is the origin of the Amu River. So some have it as Amu Jopa. Okay. And then we have Amawopa Jopa. That is when we have traders and others going to Togoland. When they get to Amajopa, they wait for the others coming to the mountain, and then they go together to Togoland. So they have it as Amajopa.
Amajopa.
Yes.
Wow. So aside from this waterfall,
right?
Beautiful. Aside from this waterfall, what else do we have here in Amajopa? So we have the waterfall. We also have the Mount Gemi, and then
the canopy walkway coming upstream very soon.
And then
there are caves.
Caves also
yes,
here.
And then there are walk trails. And then there are beautiful gardens, like the Voringen garden that we visited. And then we are looking to develop the aquaculture in addition to having a game reserve very soon where we can have wildlife and folks from the diaspora from all over the world will come to see wildlife here in Amajopa.
How is events like the Volta Fair helping you to project what you have here to the rest of the world?
The Volta Fair, in effect, as it comes live on TV, as it goes upstream on the internet, as it goes live on radio and TV, definitely people will get to hear of Amajopa, and we are looking to increase our tourist numbers and our guests to increase.
Okay, and then there's a website too, you want to tell us about it?
Yes, the website came upstream last month, and it's http://www.amajopa-virtual-tours.com.
Yeah, and you created that. In fact, you left the United States to come and volunteer here.
That's correct.
Tell us more about that. Tell us more about that journey.
Yeah, so I realized that the natives in the town were taking tourism to be sort of come, see, go tell, to go tell. But tourism is big on the international front. Okay. And I want to take Amajopa to the heights of tourism, such as in Los Angeles, San Diego, and in other parts of the world, whereby all our sites will become World Heritage Sites, and Amajopa will become Class 1 tourist sites.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So who are the kind of people who usually come here?
So usually we have the Germans coming here a lot because they have some heritage here. Back in the 19th and 20th centuries, when they colonized Togoland, all of here was part of Togoland.
Okay.
So they have some cemeteries here. They built schools. They built the church, and then the cross at the top of the mountain. We also have Italians. Americans are also big in coming here, and definitely the Ghana Army comes here to train once a year. Then we have hospitals, we have schools, geography departments of KNUST, teachers associations. In fact, all walks of life come here to have the experience, the city in the cloud.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel Ame. I have some young boys here. I have some boys here. Let me talk to them. Dr. Emmanuel Ame is actually the manager for the Amajopa Ecotourism Center. He manages this place together with what we have at Mount Gemi. Come, let me talk to you. Okay, what's your name?
My name is Ameusika Foster.
Okay, what did you come here to do? You came to swim?
Yeah, I came to just relax and then wash up.
Okay, so how often do you come here?
Oh, I came to see how the place is.
Oh, so this is the first time you are coming here?
Yes, please.
Really? So where are you coming from? Jukwa?
Yeah, at Central Region.
You came all the way from the Central Region?
Yes, please.
You've completed SHS?
No, I'm schooling over here.
You are schooling here?
Yes, please.
But how come you came from the Central Region? I don't understand.
I completed my junior level at the Central Region.
Okay. So you came to swim here with your friends?
Yes, please.
Come and tell me the experience. Come and tell me about the experience here at Amajopa Falls. Come, get closer to me. So how clean is this water though?
It's very clean.
Okay.
In the past, some people have their drinking water coming right from the spot.
Oh.
Others too believe that when they come here and say prayers and take a shower with the water, their sins will be cleansed and their prayers would be answered.
Wow. Yes. I'm definitely taking a deep in here before we leave this place.
You gotta do it.
I need a lot of cleansing.
Yeah.
Come. Let me talk to some of the boys who are here, young men who are here actually. Let's stand here. Where did you come from and what are you doing here?
I come from here.
You come from who?
Yeah, and I'm schooling here.
Okay, you're schooling here?
Yeah.
So what do you come to do here usually?
No, you just come to relax here.
Okay.
Yeah.
To relax and to swim?
Yeah.
Okay, how exciting is it swimming here? This is beautiful. This is nature. How exciting is it for you?
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah, we just come here to relax ourselves.
Okay.
Above the water at times. Yeah.
Okay.
And swim too. At times when we feel, when we are sweating, at times we can't wait to
come and swim.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Good to know. But this is the point where we came from. I know my camera technician can show you where we came from. That is the point where we came from, and we moved down 200 steps, right?
Yes, 200 to 250 steps.
200 to 250 steps down. It was a real adventure. It was a bit easy coming down here, but now that we are down here, I don't know how we're going to get back. I honestly do not know how we're going to get up. 350 feet up. I'm told by Dr. Ahmed that it's 350 feet up. I don't know how we're going to get up there. It's going to be difficult, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So these are some of the amazing things that we have here in the Volta region. Amazing, sites and that are available here in the Volta region. Not many people have heard of the Amedjopa Falls. Like I mentioned, I did not know about this place until some days to the Volta Fair. Then I got to know about this beautiful, this wonderful place, and then Mount Gemi as well. We were there, and we'll be bringing that to you in our subsequent bulletins, letting you know about the Volta Fair and how it is projecting the various tourist destinations here, how the Volta Fair itself, the Volta Fair, the ground itself is connecting, young entrepreneurs, connecting young businessmen, providing networking opportunities for many people here in the Volta region and beyond. Over to you, Ernest.
Thank you very much, Maxwell, for bringing us those breathtaking visuals from the Volta region. The Volta region is certainly beautiful, and if you plan visiting there, this is the right time where we have the Volta Fair under. We'll bring you more of these in our subsequent programs. But away from the Volta Fair, despite government breaking grounds for the construction of new district hospitals under the Agenda 111, the Health Minister says he's unaware real construction will commence in the Dafiama Busi Isa constituency. Answering questions in Parliament from the Dafiama Busa Isa MP, Dr. Sebastian Sandari, Kweku Ajumamenu said the contractors and consultants are mobilizing to move to site, noting he's unable to tell when real work will commence.
I rise to ask the Minister for Health when construction of the district hospital for Dafiama Busi Isa under the Agenda 111 will start.
Mr. Speaker, to herald the commencement of works on the Agenda 111 project, thought was had Tuesday, 17th August 2021 at the Dafiama district of the Ashanti to see of these hospitals in all the beneficiary districts, including the Dafiama under the Agenda 111 project. Because all preparatory works towards commencement of works have been completed. Currently, zero consultants activities to site for works to commence shortly. The exact date that will happen in Dafiama Busi Isa, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I will not be able to give immediately.
When is the project expected to be completed?
Honorable Speaker, construction sites have already been selected. They were selected with the assistance of the district assembly. So they are now in the process of even preparation of sites for the projects. And that is why I'm saying that they are now mobilizing to sites, making the sites ready for works to begin. And the contractor can only do this with the consultant. The consultant only went there to inspect the site and assess its appropriateness for works to actually start. They have done a lot of work already, and I believe soon actual work of construction will commence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And some households in the Obuasi municipality of the Ashanti region are converting their toilet facilities into bedrooms for rent. This has gotten the Municipal Assembly to activate a bylaw which stipulates a fine of 1,200 Ghana cedis or 6 months jail term for people caught engaged in this illegal act. There's more in the following report.
The Municipal Chief Executive, Elijah Adanse-Bona, is worried the action of the people is not helping in fighting the sanitation problem. About 14,000 people in the Obuasi municipality are caught engaging in open defecation. In commemoration of World Toilet Day, the municipality organized a Durbar to create awareness and also to address the sanitation crisis in the Obuasi municipality. Speaking at the event, Mr. Adanse-Bona expressed optimism the Obuasi area will be free from open defecation.
We decided to come to the central market, interact with our people, educate them. Those who don't have toilets in their houses would do it after maybe this event. So it is significant. We want Obuasi to be one of the open defecation-free municipalities in Ghana. When my coordinating director was talking, he mentioned that we've begun construction of concrete drains. Now people have started squatting on the drains, easing into the drains, and that is very bad. Those who don't have toilets in their houses, that is where the challenge is. That is why we need to sit down with them, with the engineers, if they can create something within the house for them. They think there's no space, but for space, if you want it, you can create it.
The theme for this year's celebration is Stop Open Defecation, Own a Household Latrine Now. Let's play our part in this COVID-19 era. The Municipal Environmental Officer, Mrs. Moro Fusena, said the percentage of people owning a latrine in the municipality will increase next year.
From January going, we will be going around. When we come and you convert your bath or toilet into a sleeping room, we will take you to court. Every house is supposed to have a toilet. Now we are not even saying like a compound house with 10 rooms shouldn't have one toilet. I can assure you that next year, if we are alive and before we come back for World Toilet Day, you will see the numbers increasing, because that next year that will be my target. If I don't send at all, I will send over 3,000 people to court because they have no toilet in their houses.
So far, about 25 people who do not have toilets in their houses have been dragged to court. Bilkis Mohammed's report read to you.
Now, the last few months have seen the world suffer the emergence of some viruses and the return of some already known viruses: Ebola, SARS-CoV-2, that's COVID-19, the African swine fever, avian influenza, and so many more. So why are the viruses on the loose? That's a question we've invited virologist Dr. Michael Owusu to help us answer. Unfortunately, we still don't have him on the line, but we can discuss what we can do to prevent such viruses from hurting us. We're joined by the Deputy Country Director for SEND Ghana, which has been campaigning for government to adequately prepare for such unforeseen outbreaks. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on JoyNews Prime. Well, Manuel Cranton has a report before we go to the Country Director for SEND Ghana. Let's bring you that.
1, 2, 3.
It's been 20 months since Ghana confirmed her first 2 positive COVID-19 cases. The impact of the pandemic has undoubtedly revealed long-existing gaps in health service delivery in Ghana. With 3 devastating waves in the period, the country's health system has been at the receiving end of unparalleled pressure, almost forcing it to the brink of collapse. At the seasonal peaks of each wave, the hospitals could barely handle the numbers. This is despite the unprecedented government expenditure in beefing up the country's health response. Official figures from the Finance Ministry captured in the 2021 mid-year budget review revealed that government spent in total of 10.4 billion Ghana cedis from March 2020 to June 2021. Monies for such spending were sourced from external sources in loans from the IMF and World Bank and internally from the contingency fund. Indeed, there has been private sector contribution in the construction and establishment of a 100-bed infectious disease center to augment the efforts of government, which had been largely on procurement and deployment of medical and other consumables like PPE, vaccines, reagents, and also implementing social interventions like free water and electricity at some point within the first wave. That left so much to be desired, at least for the researchers who were at the forefront of the country's knowledge gathering about the virus. This is because, as the cases went up, so did the need for testing of the most at-risk segment of the population, sequencing of the virus, and enhanced studies on the dynamics of the virus. Dr. Yaobediako is a research fellow at the West Africa Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, WACPIP, at the University of Ghana.
I would say the research we are doing the best with what resources we have. We don't have a culture of research investment or investing in research in this country. Successive governments, it's not just this government, in general, majority of the research in Ghana is supported by overseas aid. WACBIP was established through a World Bank grant. Our research is supported by funders including the Wellcome Trust, the Gates Foundation, the NIH. Noguchi is largely funded by the Japanese government. KCCR is supported by the German government. The research capacity in this country is largely dependent on grants that are from overseas. So we don't have much, if any, support for our research activities from our own government, which limits our ability to advance our research. So all that you see, the work that we have tried to do, the seroprevalence testing, the sequencing, is all funded. It's all money that we have repurposed from grants we had got to do other things. So we had grant money to study malaria, to do HIV work. When COVID came, we took some of the money that we had for those and we've applied it to COVID.
It is worthy to note that at the onset of the third wave, government committed some 800,000 cedis for distribution among the medical research labs across the country. Professor Gordon Awandare is director of WACPIP.
We are fortunate because we've been able to get some grants from external funders. Recently, the government of Ghana has made a contribution towards the sequencing. So they've given some money to Noguchi towards the sequencing, and we are looking forward to getting some of that support, which would help a little bit. It's not, it's not the kind of money that we need, but it's a contribution. It's in the region of probably 800,000 Ghana cedis for Noguchi, WACBIP and UHAS to share.
But of course, this reality means that local information gathering about the virus was limited. Dr. Emmanuel Ahiable admits that this lack of information about the virus affected the confidence of medical response, and thus the lives of thousands of patients hung in a balance as they continued to battle to stay alive from one oxygen cylinder to the other. For those who were lucky to have been stabilized, they dreaded the experience and wished there was more that was done to protect them. With a cumulative number of 130,077 cases confirmed in the period beginning March 12, 2020, nearly 2 people succumb to the virus every day, bringing total deaths to 1,175 as of October 24, 2021. Government has, through its coronavirus alleviation program, announced a tax incentive for persons within the healthcare value chain considered as frontliners. These included doctors, nurses, security personnel, and in fact, environmental health workers who conducted the burial of COVID-19 dead bodies under strict supervision from the Ghana Health Service. But these challenges were not exclusive to the COVID-19 burial team. At least, there were attempted strikes and threats of same from other health workers, including nurses and lab technicians. The relief for many health policy analysts is government's ambitious Agenda 111 project, which is expected to deliver 111 district hospitals across the country to significantly boost the infrastructural strength of the country's health system. An addendum is the objective of establishing local vaccine manufacturers in Ghana.
So, I hope that this event will highlight the need for sustained investment, government investment in research in this country. If we don't do that, the calls for why don't we have a locally made vaccine, in my opinion, are quite absurd because we don't invest in capacity. So there's no way, even though we have the human capacity, we have the human capital, there are people talented enough to do some of this work. If you don't give them the resources they need, they can't do it. So I hope that what comes out of COVID-19 is the realization that research is important. Research is a valuable investment. And it's an investment. You don't see the gains immediately. When you build a road or you build a school, within a year it's standing there and everybody can point to it. With research, oftentimes the gains are delayed. But you have to continue to invest in it because you don't know when you're going to need the results of the research. If we had been investing in research the way we should be over the last 15 to 20 years, we would have been in a position to develop our own vaccine.
Dr. Emmanuel Ahiable is a member of the Ghana Medical Association and the head of the COVID-19 response team at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital.
The number of cases have exponentially gone up the third wave. Because with the second wave, we're not having many patients, even at the emergency department, who have tested positive. But now, as I speak now, the COVID ICU is full. The isolation center, the holding center, which is supposed to be for suspected cases, is also filled with positive COVID-19 positive patients. And there's a spillover at the emergency department, who also have COVID, about 12 of them. So this third wave, which hospital is overwhelmed. All our spaces are filled.
But ahead of the presentation of the 2022 budget and economic policy, Dr. Yao-Bediakon of WACBIP believes a more robust path of sustainable funding must be charted to make this a reality. As the Christmas festivities beckon, the World Health Organization has warned that a fourth wave of the virus may be in the offing. The response to such an occurrence, especially in Ghana, will be dependent on the priority government places on epidemic financing through the 2022 budget. Manuel Granting, JoyNews.
Let's go to Zoom now and speak to Dr. Emmanuel Efia, the Deputy Country Director, Sen Ghana. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time here on The Pulse. We've seen all these viral, diseases ravaging our country, the continent, and indeed the world. From where you sit, have we done enough to prepare for large-scale outbreaks as we have seen with COVID?
Thank you very much, my brother, for the opportunity, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. In fact, you do not need a prophet to tell you that as a country, we've not actually been up and doing as far as preparing for epidemics or pandemics are concerned. Last year, we all here were hit by COVID. Even at the heat of the moment, we had a greater proportion of our population also dying from cerebrospinal meningitis, CSM for short. And this year, we are hearing, just last week, about 25 Ghanaians also died owing to yellow fever. At the time that we are still not so even out of the woods yet as far as COVID is concerned. The fact is that, yes, disease outbreaks are inevitable. They will happen. If you trace the history globally, we've had such pandemics happening. But what is important is for us to be prepared so that in the event that such things happen, at least we'll have ways to contain it. For us as Ghana, over the years that we've done budget analysis, we realized that as a country, although we have what is called a National Action Plan for Health Security, which is costed, the government has not really sort of devoted or allocated money specifically focusing on financing the National Action Plan for Health Security. And if we have such costed plan there and it's funded, that is where, in case of medical epidemics like that is where we have to take the money from. Following from the interview that you had with the researcher, it is clear that almost all our key research institutions that matter, the negotiation and whatnot, are all funded by external sources. Goodness. And so the point is that if we wake up today and the external forces say that they do not have any money to give us, then what is going to happen to us as a nation? COVID came, yes, we had some voluntary mobilization of resources locally, but a chunk of it, if you look into our budget, the media budget, and even the current budget that was read, if you look at it, a chunk of it came from external sources. So for us, our concern is that it's about time that government try as much as possible, not looking outside, but inwardly to try and allocate some resources for epidemic preparedness financing. But today it is COVID. Tomorrow, we don't know what the future holds. It may be something that is more even grievous than COVID. Government indicated last year that Agenda 111, but we are not really seeing much of the Agenda 111. We thought that we heard, I think last week or so, that yes, plans are far advanced and they are put in place, but every time plans are far advanced, that's what we normally hear. We want to see action. Agenda 111 would not solve epidemic preparedness totally, but at least it will help to some extent. Maybe let me add one or 2 points to it in terms of what government could do. Aside the fact that we are calling for government to still prioritize funding for epidemic preparedness, we know that the budget is red, the budget is there.
Exactly, and I was just going to come to that.
Yes, so we are still analyzing, but so far we've not clearly seen any specific item focusing on epidemic preparedness financing. But that doesn't mean that maybe certain things done within the health sector may not go towards that. But we are of the view that it's very important government should have specifically focused on devoting some resources just for epidemic preparedness financing. We think what could be done, even as we don't have much money, what could be done is being to broaden the COVID levy. That came last year. Last year, government issued a COVID levy. Maybe government should broaden the levy to focus on general epidemic response. That will help. And there's also a call. We know that the District Assembly Common Fund, unfortunately, for the past year, did not really come. But there's a sense from citizens before the budget was from when we went trying that maybe we could also look at trying to get some sort of proportion of the DACF focusing on epidemic preparedness financing, and some of these things would help us.
But Doc, it's about the constraints, isn't it?
Budget line. Pardon, please, sorry.
It's about the resource constraints. You talk about the COVID levy, for instance. There have been, concerns raised about that levy and how counterproductive it is. You talk also about the, the resources that go to the various districts. That in itself is in arrears for several quarters. And so really there needs to be a sustained, source of funding to get this to work. Do you have any suggestions in that regard?
Okay, thank you. So we all do understand, we know that there's a constraint in terms of getting the needed revenue. Attached to GDP, we've always been saying it's around 13%. Government is trying to push it to 20 or so percent. I believe that is how come the 2022 budget, they came up with certain new tax initiatives to rope in more revenue. Speaking specifically to the issue at stake, the epidemic preparedness financing. Yes, we do know that, yes, already money allocated to health does not even meet the Abuja declaration. But we have to prioritize.
We seem to have lost the sound there to Dr. Emmanuel Efia, who is the Deputy Country Director of Send Ghana there. Apologies, but I think the point is well made. We need to have a more sustainable approach to dealing with our epidemics and pandemics here in the country. And that's it for the pause. We're taking a short break for sports. We'll be back to wrap up with the